What is up, my fellow Chibits? Hopefully all of you are having a very good day today, because today had a very special episode come out for Boku no Hero Academia. It was an episode I have been waiting for so long, and I will just start off and say that this episode was probably one of the best episodes of the series. That's how much I enjoyed this episode. Because when I read this in the manga, when I saw All Might versus Izuku and Bakugo, I was flabbergasted. I couldn't believe what I was reading. I remember freaking out when I saw these two having to go up against the number one hero. I was like, how are they supposed to win? How are they supposed to get away? After all of these stories, after just all this build up to All Might, how can they win against someone like this? And so it was something I was looking forward to so much, to see animated and to see how it was done by Studio Bones. And after knowing what Studio Bones has done thus far for this series, I knew I had something really good to look forward to. I knew this was going to look good, so I was expecting it to be good, and it definitely delivered on that front, and it was way better than even what I expected it to be. So let's start off and just talk about the main points of this episode. So this is an entire episode dedicated to All Might versus Bakugo and Izuku, and I would not have had it any other way. It was the best way to handle this, by giving the entirety of this fight for one episode, just dedicating an entire episode to this, and getting to see its start and its conclusion. It was a perfect way to handle this, and Studio Bones did a very good job with how it handled the pacing of this episode. I have no problems whatsoever when it comes to that. Now, as we know, Bakugo and Izuku, they have had their issues for a very, very long time. Like, since the beginning of the series, we know Bakugo and Izuku, they don't get along. They don't. I mean, we know Izuku kind of looks up to, Bakugo, and he looks at him as a good friend. But over time, thanks to the events of Season 1 and then Season 2, it's made it to where they can't really communicate anymore. They can't talk anymore, and since, Izuku has now gained a quirk, he has something now, he's no longer what he was in the past, and this has made it to where it's kind of even harder to talk with Bakugo, and so the relationship is now, which was on shaky ground, is now just, demolished. They just had nothing between them that they really could talk about, because they didn't know how to speak to each other, and there was just always this anger between them, or at least Bakugo had anger, and then Izuku, he just didn't know what to do or what to say, because anything he said might make him even angrier than he already was. So it was a difficult patch between these two characters. They have not been on speaking terms for a while, and if they do speak, it was always aggressive dialogue, for instance, Bakugo yelling at Izuku and all that, and so there was just never any common ground whatsoever. But all of us, readers and watchers of this series, we've all been very aware of this relationship. Now, let's look at both characters right now. What is going on? Why did this happen? Well, we know that Bakugo, his origin, from what we found out in Season 1, he was someone that was kind of misguided. He thought he was amazing. He thought he was the greatest, the strongest, whatever. And then as he entered UA, he realized very quickly he wasn't the strongest, he wasn't the best, and he was nowhere near the top. And all of this got crushed like that. And then to really crush this, and what really started all of these problems, was when Izuku gained a quirk and then crushed Bakugo in that little matchup, in the middle of Season 1. That's when the issues between these two characters started to really happen and crank up, because this person that Bakugo was kind of picking on throughout his entire childhood finally gained a quirk and then defeated him like that. That obviously just crushed his pride. His pride and everything that he had for such a long time was just crushed like that, and he didn't know what to do. He didn't know how to handle it. And that just destroys a person when they always thought they were the greatest, the biggest, or whatever, that had the greatest quirk or whatever, and then after they pick on someone for so long and they realize that this person crushes them, they don't know how to handle it. And that's kind of what started all of this. And we get to see now the conclusion, or somewhat a semi-conclusion, to this conflict between these two characters. So this episode is basically Bakugo's origin story. It's titled Origin or whatever, and I want to kind of point something out if you are completely unaware of this. This title has been given also to Todoroki and also Izuku. I'm not even joking. If you go back to the episodes, like with, you know, the Stain arc and all that, there is a Todoroki, like, origin stuff. It's like Todoroki origin. And then you have earlier on the series at the beginning of season 1, you have to Izuku the origin. So this type of title has popped up constantly throughout the series of Boku no Hero Academia. It's not something just unique for this episode that just came out. This has came out for other two characters, Todoroki and Izuku, and it could possibly come out for other characters. But this is the main point of what this means. There is something very similar between all of these three characters that link them together. And that is what started their path to be a hero. All Might. All Might is a role model. He is the #1 hero. He is the symbol of peace. He is someone that has made many want to become a hero thanks to how he acts on the field. And because of this, he is the one that inspired Bakugo to become a hero, Todoroki to become a hero, and Izuku to become a hero. Now, all of these three, okay, even though they were inspired by All Might, they were inspired in different ways. Todoroki has his own way he was inspired, but in this episode, it really wanted to focus in on how Bakugo was inspired to be a hero. In this way, Bakugo was inspired by All Might facing off against impossible odds and still coming out on top. That's what inspired Bakugo to want to be a hero. When he was watching those shows when he was a kid, he was seeing All Might on TV just beating up villains and stuff, and it was like a 3v1 or a 4v1, even though it seemed like, you know, All Might should lose because the numbers were against him, he still won. He came out on top, which is what Bakugo really admired. He admired the fact that All Might, no matter how impossible the odds were and what was set against him, he still won. And Bakugo admired it, and that's what he wanted to do, and that's what started his path to become a hero, and what led him to this very day in this series. Now, Izuku, we know what inspired him as well. He thought All Might was very cool, or how he could save people, how he always had a smile on when he went in and saved someone, you know, their life was in danger. He loved that about All Might, how you would just save so many people. And so, as you can see, All Might has inspired people in many different ways. He's a great role model, but he's inspired Bakugo, Izuku, and even Todoroki in different ways, and they're not the exact same. But there is something I do want to point out that many might have not noticed with this episode, and that is what makes Izuku so attached to Bakugo. Now, like I said, Bakugo, he was inspired by All Might thanks to him never giving up and then fighting against impossible odds. Izuku got inspired by Bakugo because he did the exact same thing All Might did. We get to see a little brief flashback in this episode where Bakugo, he has these two, like, older kids, they're trying to fight him and all that, and you can see he kind of wins. He wins the fight, he's beat up, but he wins the fight. And you see Izuku in the background and all that, and he's just, you know, he's smiling and he's happy because he thought it was really cool that, you know, Bakugo was able to fight against someone, or fight against two people by himself, and he won. The way he acted was very cool. He acted like a hero, and that inspired him. And so, it wasn't just All Might that has inspired Izuku to grow, it was also Bakugo. And it's very funny when you think about this, because what, you know, Bakugo was inspired by, what made him be like he is, was thanks to All Might. But now, Bakugo kind of slightly inspired Izuku to be in a certain way, thanks to Bakugo. So, you could see this just, you know, line and all that, what All Might has done, how he is as a role model, and what he has done to kind of bring about the next generation of heroes. He is a really good role model. So, I just wanted to point that out. If you're unaware of that, that's kind of what the main message of this was, and what the episode is really trying to showcase, what these two characters have accomplished and what they're trying to do. So, that being said, let's talk about Izuku now. Now, Izuku, like I said, he's a character that loves to rescue people, no matter the cost. Like, if someone is down on the ground, they're about to be injured, killed, or whatever, he will risk everything to save an individual. And that's what he did in this episode. When Bakugo was on the ground, and he couldn't move and all that, Izuku looked at this moment as if it was a life or death situation, charged in to grab Bakugo and get out of there. And we gotta look at everything that was set up prior to that moment of the episode. Izuku was scared. He did not want to fight All Might. He knew. And this is the reason why. It's not just the fact that Izuku admires All Might, it's the fact that Izuku knows what All Might is capable of, because he has his quirk. He has One for All. And because of that, he is very aware of what All Might is actually capable of and what he can do. He knows firsthand. And so because of that, that makes the overwhelming might of All Might even scarier than what it was. But despite all of this, despite this absolute fear that he had and knew that they possibly could not win in a straight up brawl against All Might, he dived in to save Izuku. Now, let's look at this for a moment. Let's look at this from a different perspective, okay? Let's say All Might was an actual villain. Let's say he was a real villain that everybody kind of knew about, and he was scary. He was like this super villain level, okay? And Izuku still had that same fear. He was scared. They knew that they needed to run away and all that, okay? Let's just picture that. But then his friend Bakugo gets put down on the ground, and his life is in serious danger. He charged in regardless, which shows that he is proving Stain's point. Remember in the last major arc with Stain, he's like, just because you have a license does not mean that you're an automatic hero. To be a hero, you have to be heroic. You have to do things for others. That was the big message of the last arc. And we even get to see a glimpse of Stain in this episode as Izuku is reminded. I'll get into that in a moment. But basically, Izuku dived in despite all odds against him to save an individual at the cost of his own life, which in a way is very heroic. It's justice. He's doing something that you could honestly say that's just crazy, but also heroic as well for him to go that far for someone to try to save them. And so Izuku, he dived in to try to save Bakugo even though his life could have been in danger. So that shows what Izuku has gained from All Might. He has gained this part of All Might to where no matter the cost, he will save an individual. He will go after them. Even if he is scared, he will put on a smile and he will save that person. That's what he did when he charged in. So that was the point there. That was the main message of that scene, to show that even though Izuku was scared throughout the episode, he put aside that and he put on a smile and he tried to save someone. So let's get on to, like, the Stain stuff. So there was a quick little, Stain segment in this episode, and it was something very fascinating, because it has a lot of weight, and it just shows what type of weight Stain has on the series after that arc. He is still present in Izuku's mind, and he is not going to be going away for a very long time. As I've already stated in a previous anime review, no matter how far this series goes, no matter if Stain is never mentioned again in the series, he will always be there, because of what he did, the message to what he stated to the entire world, setting up for the League of Villains and stuff, because we see at the end of the episode, to, what he has done to Izuku, what he did to Ida and Todoroki, just all of these little things. Stain's presence is still here in the series, and you can see he has an everlasting effect on Izuku. When All Might's like, are you going to try to run away from your teammate and leave him there and all that to die? And all of a sudden, as soon as, All Might said that, Izuku, he thought about Stain. He's like, no, why am I thinking about the hero killer right now at this moment? The reason why he's thinking about the hero killer is because of what he stated, how you shouldn't leave someone to die. You should be a true hero regardless of how scared you are. And that right there shows the impact Stain has had on the MC, the weight of the previous arc. So, and all that being said, let's talk about All Might and his strength. So, I think it's obvious that All Might is nowhere near his maximum. Let's just state that right now. All Might is not near his maximum in this episode. He was not going 100% in this episode, but also on top of that, he definitely was handicapped throughout the episode, because he had, the handcuffs on. He just couldn't really move properly at all. So his weight was just increased. He couldn't move about. And even then, he still was ridiculously powerful and fast. You just saw the speed that he had throughout this episode. So we can also look at this and say that, holy crap, if he is this strong while he's handicapped, just imagine how he would be when he doesn't have those gauntlets on, and also imagine if he was Prime All Might. Yes, Prime All Might, because as we know, All Might, he can't be like he once was. Remember, he got a big injury, and so he can't perform like he once did a long time ago, years ago. He's not like that anymore. He can't push himself that far. And we've already seen this thanks to, the Nomu fight at the end of Season 1. So we know for a fact that All Might is nowhere near what he was a long time ago. But even then, his strength in this episode is no joke. He opens up the episode, or the entire fight, with just punching. He punched the air, and the force of the air knocked and blew all the buildings away in the radius in a far distance. You can actually see a zoom out shot of it if you go back in the episode look, where it shows the devastation. It's just big trail of when he punched the city. And I know in the grand scheme of things, when it comes to other shonen, this is nothing compared to like crazy shonen, like, if you think of Naruto and it's crazy explosions, or Dragon Ball Z, even Bleach, stuff like that. I know in the grand scheme of things, like, destruction of this level is nowhere near that. I understand that. However, in terms of Boku no Hero Academia, this is ridiculous, because just the strength level of the punch, by just punching air, he obliterated all that in a matter of seconds. You can even see the images that Studio Bones even put in. I was really happy with that, when they see how his punch, the force of his punch, was bending metal. And you just see the metal just, like, crunching and bending and just being blown away, which just shows how strong his punch was. And remember, I want to point out that his speed was reduced, and because of how fast his punch was, is why the punch was so strong. And so that shows that if he wasn't handicapped, that punch would have been much greater. It would have been way more powerful than it was in this episode. But then we also got to look at it like this. Look at the speed of All Might, what he did to Bakugo and Izuku. Bakugo and Izuku are having their own little discussion, all that, trying to figure out how they can get rid of All Might and, win at the same time and escape. You have it to where All Might gets in between, he's like, yes, and what next? And then he actually interrupts the conversation and asks a question of Bakugo, and he was so quick. If you go to the first image when he pops up, okay, and he's, talking to Bakugo, Izuku is completely unaware. He is unaware. He's not even looking at All Might. He just does not even realize that All Might is right there beside him. That's just how fast All Might was. And all of a sudden, when Bakugo reacts to try to attack him, he just hits so fast. You can actually see, like, there's so many frames in that second, but so, like, fast. He just smashes Bakugo's, like, entire grenade hand, and you see it just obliterate like it's nothing. And then as Izuku's getting over and about to attack, he smashes Izuku's like it's nothing as well. And it's so quick. It's so fast. I was just absolutely amazed, because in the manga, it looked fast. It did. But that's the problem. When you read manga, you can't really tell how fast a character is going. It's not that easy without animation. So seeing it animated and seeing how fast he was moving, it makes me really hyped up for the future arcs of the series. And no spoilers, don't worry. But, oh man, I am super hyped up for a future arc with All Might, just because of how fast he looked in this episode. Studio Bones constantly delivering on this point. So let's talk about the action in general. So All Might definitely did not hold back. Like, well, okay, he held back, but he clearly doesn't know how to hold back a lot, because he almost snapped Izuku's spine, and he KO'd Bakugo like it was nothing. Grabbed him in the face. Bakugo tried to fight back and just attacked him and all that. Barely hurt All Might. He was like a tank. And then All Might just, punches him in the gut and all that. And you just see him, like, vomit because he was hit so hard. And he can't even move. Like, he can barely move at all. That's just how hard All Might hit him. So when you look at this, All Might, he is a really good role model, but he is not a good teacher at all. He does not know moderation at all. And that's something that has become increasingly more obvious as the series progresses. As you can see that All Might, he's great. He's a great hero, he's a great role model, but he is a really, really bad teacher. Let's look at some of the things that's already been established, okay? Gran Torino, with the Stain arc and all that. Gran Torino managed to teach Izuku how to use his quirk better than All Might could. And All Might is the owner of the quirk. And Gran Torino only needed like one full day, and Izuku was already able to kind of master it to a degree to where he wasn't shattering his bones. That shows right there that All Might is not that good of a teacher. And a lot of times throughout the series, you see where others point this out, that he's not really a good teacher. And this is an aspect that you could see about All Might. He's relatively new to being a teacher. We know this for a fact. He's new to be a teacher, but still, just to see this, the difference in quality of teaching that Izuku has received from others compared to All Might is just insane. And you can see that once again in this episode, when All Might just, smashes Izuku, almost breaks his back, and when he smashes, Bakugo, he's setting up a good example, but he doesn't know how to do it properly. So I just wanted to point that out if you were unaware of that little scene throughout this episode. Anyways, though, I feel like the final thing to talk about is the event with the League of Villains at the end. So Best Girl has arrived. I'm not gonna, spoil anything, but Best Girl has arrived at the end of the episode, and I'm super excited to hear more of her voice acting and just see her animated. I am really, 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 really excited for that. I'm also ready for a certain other character that's gonna, be by her side that will be introduced eventually. Looking forward to that. And also, how do you guys feel about the new characters or the villains introduced at the end of the episode? You know, you have the girl. I'm not going to reveal any names because I don't believe they've been revealed yet. But you have the girl at the end, and then you have to do with, like, the weird, like, face and all that. It looks like it's been burnt or something. How do you feel about the new characters? Anime onlys, let me know in the comments below. And also, just a brief FYI, apparently next week is the finale of Boku no Hero Academia Season 2. So it kind of sucks. That sucks, because we're gonna have to say goodbye to the quality anime, but I mean, all good things must come to an end. But I'm gonna assume that we'll eventually get a Season 3. So with that being said, I want to end my review here. Thank you so much for watching. Leave a like on this video if you enjoyed it, and if you want to support me on Patreon, go to the description in the comments below, and, you know, just support me on Patreon. It helps me out a lot, and allows me to continue to focus on YouTube. So you all have a wonderful day or night, wherever you live. Please be safe. Chibi out.